Hey everybody, Scott Hogan coming at you. Today we're going to talk with you about the Mevo Plus. I've had it for a year. I get a lot of questions. Hey, would you do anything different? Would you change anything? And, my thoughts on it. So let's go into that. Again, if you're new to the channel, click that subscribe button down below. I love showing you how we use these units. You make these investments, show you how to use these units, and, go from there and make you sure that that investment pays off for you. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about the Mevo Plus. Let's just talk launch monitors in general over the last year. So for me, if you saw some of my early videos, I had a different setup. COVID kind of changed things, but used to have 3 bays running that way, and I had a GC2, a Skytrack, a Mevo. That was what I used. And before that, I had 2 X2s in here, plus the Mevo. The X2s were fine, but they just weren't set up for like shorter shots and on-course play. They were kind of difficult for that. So, and you couldn't putt at all. So it was, they just weren't meant for this environment. So they were great, but, I decided, hey, I'm going to need something that works a little better in shorter range than those X2s did. So that goes for like TrackMan 3s. I had those. They did the same thing. The radar units come a long way as we've gotten shorter and shorter on shots. So a year ago then, I was using those units. I was having a lot of issues with just staying connected, little things going on that were driving me nuts on pretty much all of them. Mevo was okay, but it would do the same. But it wasn't doing what I wanted it either. It just could hit balls and see numbers. So got the word, this guy's coming out at the show. I was super excited. I said, hey, that's a chance for me to solve a couple of my issues that I have. One, righty-lefty. I was trying to juggle the logistics of righty-lefty, and because I had no option to do righty-lefty, that I couldn't really like rent this place out. I could only do coaching and have like one person come in and practice at a time. But, people that want to come in and practice, they want to come in with their friends and play and stuff like that. So from a business standpoint, I wasn't able to do it. Two, from a coaching standpoint, I always coach in groups. I love coaching in groups. I think it's a great way to practice. And people couldn't, it was really hard to juggle that because, again, righty-lefty. I had to have lefties together. I had to have righties together. And sometimes I didn't want those people together, but I had to do it. So that was part of it too. And then 3, I wanted to be consistent. I didn't want to have multiple units going. And I loved FlightScope. One of the things I missed the most from my X2s was I loved the FlightScope Skills app. So that app was great. I liked it better than the test center on TrackMan because of some of the logistics with running it with multiple people. And I just thought it was a little easier to use. So that was kind of like, all right, hey, that all could be solved with this guy. And, I could get these guys. I sell the other ones. I could get these guys and it would be an equal wash. So went to the show, tried it out. It worked great at the show. I was super impressed. I think I was like their first appointment at the demo day. I said, yep, I'm buying them. And I said, give me 2. Went the next day at the show, picked them up, and off we went. So I've had the units now for a year. Do I still have that same enthusiasm about what I was so excited about a year ago? And the answer is yes. More so than ever, actually, because a couple of things have changed throughout the year that have really been really, really nice. So first off, it solved my righty-lefty issue. I solved that, and it's been great. The unit runs really well. It runs great from a standpoint of the shots launch almost immediately after you hit it. They launch pretty much as fast as like the GC2 did over a Bluetooth connection. So it's like you hit it, the ball pretty much just takes off right away. There's a slight delay. So that's great from people coming in and just playing, but it solved that righty-lefty. I've been able to have more people in playing and practicing and stuff. The thing that's changed over the last year is that's actually ramped up because I'm more confident now that the unit will run and I won't have any issues. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. But when it first started out, there was always some things like, all right, is this going to happen? What's going on? I was trying to learn as much as I could because what happens is when people are renting it out, a lot of times I'm not here. I'm here 60 to 70 hours a week. I don't want to be here 80 to 90. So I have somebody else here that watches the place. And so they have to be able to figure this out. And I wasn't confident in that at the start. There was a lot of little things that you had to learn. And when FlightScope rolled it out, there were some challenges. COVID had just started, I think like 6 weeks after, where everything's starting to shut down. So I can't imagine a worse time for that to happen for a new product. And you can't ship things, shipping shut down around the world. You can't get things internationally. All that makes it really, really tough. So it was a little bit frustrating to deal with it at first. We're like, hey, what does that mean when the lights are blinking like that? In the original manual, they actually didn't have all the lighting combinations. There's still one they're missing, by the way, which is if you ever see it blinking red and blue back and forth, the unit, it is dead. So we just had that happen a couple weeks ago. The person that works here couldn't find it in the manual, so we now have that written in our manual. Anyway, that's besides the point. They also didn't put that you have to use the charging block that comes with it, or else you're going to damage the unit. You're going to fry it. So there's more information about, like, hey, if it takes such specific information about charging it, you would have liked to see that come out. So that was, I think, some of the things that came out as we go. The other things I learned were how to set it up in a way that makes it operate the best. The first is getting everything level from ball to the unit, getting that as level as you can, having no gap in between makes it work really good. And part of the reason you want that is because when you're chipping, the one thing we do is move the ball back. We chip from about a foot closer to the unit. It still works when we chip at the distance of the ball, but we chip about a foot closer to the unit and it seems to work. All right, it works a lot better. We rarely get misreads when we do that. That's what we do. Okay. Now, the other thing that's changed that I think has really made me more comfortable having people come in and use it is the driver is actually getting better. It's not there yet, but it is getting better. One thing that you have to do with your driver, and I was a victim of this too, if you watched my Sunday rounds, I was saying stuff like this, but it has a high spin rate. I still think it's a little high, but it does seem to be coming down. And the thing you have to do is there's a formula you can use to figure out how far your golf ball should go after it rolls a little bit. So this is after roll. If you take your club head speed and you times it by 2.7, if you're hitting on a moderately firm fairway, it's going to tell you how far that ball approximately goes. Okay? Now that's not taking into account altitude, which a lot of the courses on E6 have some sort of altitude thing to them. So you have to take that into account. You also have to take into account wind, which on E6 with Mevo Plus, we don't do that. But you also have to take into account, did you hit it good? What was your smash factor? If your smash factor is not 1.48, 1.49, 1.5, your distance is going to start dropping rapidly. So you have to keep that in mind too. So try that formula out. And what I started seeing is, when I did the formula, I'm at 105, 106 most days right now. So with that formula, I should be around 280. And then honestly, I've been a little short of that, but not by much. Not by much. And so it's getting better, and I think I had to get a little more realistic about how far I hit the ball. I'm getting older, getting slower, just the way it is. So that's actually making me feel a lot better about using it. Now, one of the big things I had to overcome with my unit was disconnects. Okay, I went through a few phases of the unit was actually disconnecting quite a bit. So a couple of things, and we're going to try this out with an iPad Pro here we have coming, a brand new one. But one thing is I have an older iPad Pro, one of these guys actually sitting right over here. And I still use it on occasion, but I was finding that I had to get that closer to the unit to make it work and kind of try to eliminate anything that was kind of Wi-Fi based in between. Do I really know if that was making a difference? I don't know, but it seemed to work better for me. Now, I have a computer set up now with my current setup. I was still getting a lot of disconnects, and the way I was setting that up was I had two Wi-Fi connectors in the computer, and I would try to connect one to the Mevo Plus, one to the E6, or sorry, the internet, so E6 would work. And I was having a lot of issues there, and partially the computer is old. Some of the ports are starting to go, so I think the motherboard's not great, but a lot of the ports still work. So what I did was I connected my computer via a Ethernet cord. Okay, and I said, all right, I found a port. I know this one for sure works on this computer. Put the Wi-Fi adapter there. I took the Ethernet cord, ran it to my internet, and I know some people this isn't the most feasible solution, but this is why I did. I have a 100-foot cord running right now, and in 2 weeks of doing that, knock on wood, have had 0 disconnects, 0. Okay, it's been awesome. So I love that. The next step for me is actually figuring out a way. I use the battery pack still on powering these. I'd like to just have a permanent power solution without having to, run a cord through the middle of the floor and stuff. So we're trying to work on that. But the power pack thing is still my go-to way right now as we go. I love it. It works great. Just, again, having to remember to switch them out every 3-4 hours. My unit has been running. It runs 8-9 hours straight every single day. No issues. I just have to keep switching the power packs out, and that's been good. So, and so with that, has it been great to use the unit? Yeah, I've loved it. It's made everything, all the problems I laid out at the start have been really good for me. Now, do I have a better setup than I did before? I do. That is the one thing I will press upon people. When you're getting into this home launch monitor game, you have to think about what the companies are trying to do. The companies are trying to tailor to environments that they don't know. They're trying to encompass as many environments as possible. This is why you see some of these things for like 50 grand. You could buy these simulators, and TrackMan, if you buy one of their TrackMan 4s, they say, hey, you want an at-home simulator? Well, yeah, here, we recommend you buy our whole setup. That's about 55,000, because we want to make sure that you have a setup that works for this thing. And so that way you don't have any issues. It's one of those things that you have to be thinking about that. You have to think about what your environment is and try to take as much information in as possible. So, if you can't get the unit flat, if you can't get the unit to have not a bunch of stuff around, maybe a bunch of metal, I would look at that. If you can't get enough light in your room, I think it helps to have the unit lit, the room little bit. It doesn't, I've played where it's pretty dark and it still works really well, but have some light in there. And if you can't get it level, this thing doesn't self-level. So those are some of the trade-offs, but again, at the price you're paying, you just have to think about those things, because we want you to, I don't want you to make an investment in anything, and I don't get paid by them. I'm just telling you my thing about this is, I think if whatever you do, think about what you want, look at the units, and then make the decision that's best for you, and that's going to be what and ultimately ends up paying off in the long run. So if you have questions about what I mean by that please feel free to reach out. Leave comments below. People are willing to comment and help you out with something going on. But be nice to them. Don't be mad about them. Just say, hey, I'm having an issue with this. What's going on? Remember, FlightScope reads this stuff. They see these. I know they see these videos. They've told me they enjoy them, so I'm guessing they watch them. So they watch the comments. They read them. They will help make them better. Skytrack, they watch them. They will help make them better if that's where you're at. These units, people are watching these things. Leave comments. It's a community that will help you and help you figure it out. I've used that community to make my unit the best it can be, and I think it's something you should look to do too. So that's a year with the Mevo Plus. I don't regret it at all. One of the better decisions I've made for my business that I can think of was to do that. It solved a lot of my issues. But again, those are my issues. They might not be yours. Think about what you're trying to do, what issues you are trying to solve. What do you really want? What do you really need? It's going to be a lot better for you, okay? So that's what we're looking at. That's my time. Thanks for watching, and hopefully if you have any questions, please, again, leave a comment down below. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, okay? So thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.